What's up, good people? Welcome back to Queen Konging. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with yet another episode. Have you listened to part 1 of this segment, Manzi? Kama haujasikiza, ebu wacha, pause, go back, listen to part 1, where I tell you who Lakers 001 is. And then now this is part 2. I know I left you guys hanging. I know a week is quite a long period of time to wait, but yes, we gotta do what we gotta do. And also, I don't want to give you a long episodes unasikiza hapa 3 hours. Do short and sweet, bana. Short and sweet. So yeah, I think I left off at where Lakers has now become a thief. And alikuwa ananiambia alianza kupiga round. Na kupiga round is he was telling me he was always afraid of guns. I don't know. It's so funny. You're a thief, you're afraid of guns. It's kind of paradoxical. But telling me he was always afraid of guns. Like, guns were just not his thing. So he would actually steal with a knife. He's those people who'd stab you. But then you see, most of the time, when someone comes at you with any silaha and asks you of your belongings, you won't necessarily start to fight him back. You'll just be like, hey, whatever, just take whatever you need and go. And so he told me he started going to round, and kuna round design mob. One of the things I really never liked about it is that alikuwa anapiga round mtaa. Like, he would steal from guys around the area. So he'd be like just not far from where we live, you know. And it was a bit sad because there's so many stories I've heard about it. Like, there's a pal of ours who sells clothes, and he's very famous, Managalis. And Managalis was telling me that he was Lakers actually borrowed him his phone, and then unaweza kwa mtu unajua, si unajua ni msi unajua umekuwa ukimuona akwambia incident simu nipige mtu. And imagine just that, like that, Lakers went away with the phone, akahepa nayo. Na I'm sure hakuna kitu naweza nduia, yani imeenda hivyo venye imeenda. So like, this is one of the things that I kept telling Lakers, manze bana. Even as having this conversation with him, I'm just like, why did you do that? And he's like, he just didn't know better. He's telling me he doesn't know better. He thought like he had to conquer. There's a thing about being a thief and conquering your area. Like, people have to be afraid of you, you know. And so he would steal from around, and then he'd go to town and steal in town. The phone snatchers, you know, the petty thieves. Like, he was always that guy. And, you know, it was getting them money. They started dressing up, nini. Amenza kwa mse wa look, kuna mchekingi. But he was telling me as he went on, it's like he got more guts. So he would do more. You know, when you're starting, you're just a pickpocket, and then the next unanyonga msi, the next unachukua kisu. So like, it was just a progression. And he's telling me there were a gang of so many guys, at least 25 guys in their gang, and they would, you know, steal from guys, go to town together. Sometimes they just, you know, be within the area and steal from around. Kwanza kuna place hapo initangwa Grau hapo Holi sa kama when wezo area unajua Holi kuna kuagana, it's like a huge football ground, and then like you have to pass through it when you're coming from one side of the hood to the other. So like they would station themselves there, so people who are passing by there would be their culprits. Wow. So my boy starts stealing, and they're now stealing with a knife after a few years. And so he tells me that there's this one guy who was a thief like them. So they'd go steal together. So they especially Apo Holi, they'd be together, they'd steal together. So normally when you're together, like you're maybe 3 or 4 guys and you're stealing there, so mna hustle mse kama meiba simu, mtu mmoja anachukua naenda anauza, then mnagawana do. So that's what usually used to happen. So the first time they were with this guy and another guy. So they go and they find someone who had a laptop and they take it from them. Then this one person, let's call him Dax. Dax decides, I'll take the laptop and I'll go sell it. But Dax doesn't bring back the money. You see? So that's where the problem started. Then the second time, so this guy never followed up. So they asked him the first time, he didn't, you know, give them the money. The second time they're like, maybe he was in a bad place, he needed the money, it's fine. So the second time they go and they get a phone. And he tells me this second time he remembers the exact phone they stole. It was a Sony Ericsson. It had some luminous colors on the keypad. And when they stole it, the guy, the same Dax, still says, I'll go sell and bring back the proceeds. But he goes and he never returns the proceeds. So unaona imekuwa ni deni. Dax alikam amechukua mali mara mbili na hajakuwa kiturudishia Maweng. Unacheki? Haya. So it goes like that. This guy never returns. So one day he goes, meets that guy akiwa area yake. So unajua kuna area, like it's like the hood is divided in a way. So you come from this side, me I come from this side. I can never chokoza you when I'm on your hood, on your side of the hood. You can never chokoza me when you're on my side of the hood. But there are some playgrounds. There are like middle grounds. I know it sounds like some US mafia story, but it is what it is, yeah. So he meets Dax. So Lakers meets Dax in his hood. Brother niaje, hujanigawia Maweng. Ati, mi sina do. Ukiwa area yako unaringa. Mi sina Maweng. So wengoja tu nikipata ndakwambia. Lakini hata mimi nimekaa mbaya. So it became like a confrontation. But you see, they were Lakers 1 was Lakers 2. So Lakers 2 akamwambia hapa tukianza kuvuruga tutaumia. So tuende, tutakuja tukupata na area yetu. So when Lakers goes back to his gang, it turns out Dax has stabbed 2 guys in his gang. None of them has died, but he stabbed them all the same. So the beef is building up. Number 1, this guy never returned our money. Number 2, he stabbed 2 guys in our gang. So it means there's a disrespect. So kuna ile kuchochana, kwani pia unamuogopa na hata hajakulipa doo zako, fuata pesa yako. Pia wewe kwani unamuogopa na alikudunga kisu? Huyo mtu lazima tumfanye mbaya. So kukakuwa na kuchochana. So one day these guys wamekaa ikakuwa by the way, Lakers umecheki Dax ameenda hivyo kwa shosho yake? Nimecheki ameenda hivyo. Sijamcheki. Ameenda hivyo kwa shosho yake. Na simia alinidunga kisu na wewe alikurusha Maweng. Tukayapa ground tumgoje akirudi. So Dax had a knife. No. I mean Lakers had a knife. And they were with 2 other guys. One of the guys was one who had been stabbed by Dax. Then there was another guy who was totally unrelated. Alikuwa anapiga tu hustle na akona gang yake. So they sit there and they're waiting for Dax to come back. So he passes through this place when he's going to his grandmother's place. So they're seated there and they're waiting for him to come back. Then the one who was stabbed says, Alisahau kisu, aende akachukue. They have a name for it. I forget, by the way. So this is Shengona level, you know. So amesahau silaha, aende achukue silaha yake and then akam. So the one who has been stabbed has gone. Unasikia Lakers has machungu mara mbili. Number 1, boy wangu amestabiwa. Number 2, kuna doni lirushwa. So uko na machungu mara mbili na umsi. So wamekaa hapo wanamtegea. Mwenye alidungwa kisu akarudi kwenda kuchukua kisu yake. So Lakers amebaki peke yake na uchali mwingine na wanangojea Dax. Then the other one is away, they see Dax approaching. So Lakers akam, Lakers ndule Dax anakam. So mimi simwachi, acha niende nimchapie. Yani let's go talk. So akaenda akamwambia Dax, si tumalizane, tuache kushinda tukivurutana, wewe tumalizane. So it started being like a confrontation. And you see now Grau is Lakers' side of the hood. So like ako area yake. So whatever happens akiwa area yake, nothing bad can happen to him. You see? Like, and it's also like Grau is like middle ground all the same because it's in the middle of areas our water. So whatever happens there, it stays there. Like no one can report you or anything. So yeah, Lakers anaambia Dax, nipe do. Ati mimi sina pesa sahi, lakini tukienda mtaa yetu naweza kupea. So but kwenda mtaa yao means unaenda kufanywa mbaya juu huko kuna watu wao. So it became a confrontation. So according to Lakers, he was telling me his plan was not to harm him. He had a knife, but his plan was not to harm him. His plan was to shtua him to a point where atampea do yake. So akatoa kisu ile kumshtua, unaona. So yeye ana akili ati anataka kumharm, anataka tu kumshtua mpaka apate do yake. And so Lakers remove his knife and he's threatening the guy. So ile kumthreaten, Dax removes his hand and Leka stabbed Dax on the chest, and the knife went straight through to the heart. So Dax falls on his knees. He starts to try and crawl, but he doesn't get far. He just falls. Some guys come pick him up. He's taken to his family. He doesn't even get to the hospital. He dies on the way. So having died on the way, that's the end of Dax. So Lakers has actually killed a person. So Lakers realizes he's actually stabbed Dax and runs away for a while. So he tells me he ran for about 6-7 months. He was not being found. The police were not finding him. He was just running for a very long time, and he was not being found. He was able to evade police for 6 months, and partly because even the family, I think Wally realized the best way is just to wait it out, and then so he went to coast. He ran for a while, but eventually the police caught up with him and he was arrested. He was arraigned in court. The whole court proceeding took place and he was sentenced to a life in prison. By the time he was being sentenced, he was only 19 years old. That's when he was sentenced to a life in prison. And as we speak, Lakers is in prison for life since when he was 19. I think right now he's 25. Yeah. That's Lakers. He's still my friend. We still talk. I got the details of this conversation and the details of the happenings of what happened. Actually, I think I have larger details, but this is just what I could share. But I got it all from him and even got permission to share this content from him. This is someone I've known. This is someone I still know. This is someone I talk to. And this is their story. I hope it makes you see things differently. Next week, I have yet another one for another friend of mine. And I hope you stay tuned. I hope you tell a friend to tell a friend that this is Queen Konging and it's the place to be.